Séance Institution is an Unreal Engine 4 map designed for a 60-hour competition called the Digital Marathon. This contest was team-based, but I elected to attempt the challenge of producing a finished level concept by myself. I did this by using pre-made assets that I had previously purchased off the Unreal Engine 4 marketplace. My efforts resulted in a short, detailed level designed to be a single-player survival horror experience. Certain aspects of the project were predetermined randomly by the contest itself before I had any input. Each one of these categories on the screen had to be included in some way for the project to count. Other than the last entry, I was fortunate to have semi-related prompts. This helped me form a cohesive idea. I would use the asset packs to create a mental institution that had been the location of a supernatural seance that aimed to bring life to a monstrous creature. Like I said, the level itself was structured as a single-player experience, despite there being no plans to make an actual full game. I used layouts of actual insane asylums, as you see on the right of the screen, and made an elaborate sketch from these ideas. I knew that time was not something that I had during the contest, so I was able to focus my building sites to a single wing of the full building from this sketch on the left side of the screen. A gray level of the full structure was not needed because of this, which allowed me to make my deadline. I envisioned that the player would be starting out in a dimly lit cell, in one of the patient blocks of the facility. The player would be able to leave through a damaged portion in the wall and begin to explore the institution. The dark and angled corridors that made up this first section of the environment would provide just enough visibility as needed and offer an intense atmosphere for the player. At this point, the player doesn't know anything about how he got in this building or anything about the character he is controlling, but that's not the point of this initial setup. The game has just started, so we have to actually build some tension and create some anxiety in the player before we can get to anything that relates to story elements or anything that should be scary. One of the key elements in this game design theory is to trick the player into thinking a specific scenario is happening. For example, at the screening of this project during the Digital Marathon, the audience kept expecting that something was eventually going to pop up during my first fly-through of this level. However, I wasn't going to rely on such cheap tactics to get my message across. Instead of wasting all the atmosphere that I've created for the player on something quick, I found that making a person wait with the fear of the unknown to be a far better tactic as a design principle. Speaking of the unknown, the layout of the institution can be a bit confusing to understand based off of just my explanations alone, so I've made this handy top-down view of the entire level to help give you a better idea of the area. I've divided the map into three main sections. The first being the starting area, which we've already talked about in great detail. The next section focuses on building the plot and contains the namesake of the map, the Séance Room. This gruesome location is where sacrifices were made to bring life to a hideous creature. Early on when designing this level, I decided that this was going to be the only monster in the entire game. Assuming that this was a finished level with gameplay, this area would contain a short puzzle that involved unlocking a door to get to the next section. The player would eventually find this key in a side room, but upon returning to the Séance Room, the creature's body would no longer be there. This would start a new mechanic of the creature following the player throughout the facility, both randomly and at set points throughout the story. Upon leaving this area, we're shown the third and final section of the stage, a staircase that leads up to the main hall. This portion of the map functions as a central hub area between the different sections of the institution. Back on the map screen, I've added a few extra elements for identification purposes. This would be standard practice had I been on a larger team, so I could effectively communicate my layout to others. Some examples include the initial spawn point, important room locations, and optional areas. I even included the original fly-through path from the video that I submitted to the contest. Overall, the project was well received by the judges of the competition, with my work receiving first place in the Digital Marathon. In particular, I thought it was noteworthy that I received high scores in storytelling from all the judges. This proves that I effectively crafted a level that can communicate well to the audience, despite there being no actual dialogue, characters, or gameplay. To me, This means that I am grasping the core of what level designers need to know to accomplish their tasks. If I can create a space that can paint a picture and imply story, my abilities would only become stronger when working with people who can add animation, coding, and other visuals to our concept. Thank you for watching.